Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Radio Toons podcast. How's it going?
Going good, man.
I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
First of all, I'm Steve.
And I'm Ernie.
Yeah, and second, you're Ernie. I have a little teeny tiny teaser announcement.
Mm-hmm.
We both do, actually. Because, when is it? The 19th, I believe?
Something like that, yeah.
Next week, we're going to be doing something a little bit special for our year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to tell you what it is, but, it's going to be a little video, and maybe if you interact with the video in a way, maybe perhaps you can get something,
I think you're giving too much, dude. You're giving too much.
I don't want to give it away, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So let's just move on, all right?
So what's in the news, Steve?
What's in the news?
Yeah.
Cliffy B is back in the news.
Oh, the guy that did that fucking great game Lawbreakers?
Yeah.
That one?
The guy who made Gears of War.
Gears of War.
He made Gears of War. He made tons of money off Gears of War, and then he said, you know what? I'm done. For a while.
I'm not just a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Lawbreakers. And then that didn't do well. And apparently now he's going after the Fortnite / PUBG market with a game called... I just heard about this game today. Radical Heights.
Yeah. So Radical Heights is a battle royale game. And he thinks that this is going to be a success.
Well, yeah, that's what he thinks. Steve and I watched the trailer. If you have not watched the trailer, go on Steam right now and watch that trailer.
You know what? Look, this is why I thought this was a good topic, because as stupid as it looks and sounds, I think Fortnite is fucking stupid, and I think it sounds stupid, but look at how popular it is, dude.
Disagree.
Disagree.
I disagree.
I'm not saying you can't like it. I just think, personally, I look at it, and I'm like, why the fuck would anybody play this?
Listen, first of all, everybody immediately said when it came out was like, it's just PUBG. It's actually not, because the Battle Royale part was this tacked-on part at the end. Okay. The actual game is sort of like it, but it's like, we got to work together to defeat this horde, so it's like horde mode, essentially. Right? PUBG has been built from the ground up to be Battle Royale, which is why most people prefer PUBG, because it has more...
They don't. Not anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't know how debatable that is. I know Fortnite makes a ton of money.
Nah, I kind of feel like PUBG's dying.
Well, I mean, there's a couple reasons that might be true, and it's like PUBG. If you want to play it on Xbox, you have to pay for it. Fortnite, you don't have to pay for it; it's free.
That right there, yeah. You have to buy PUBG to run at 19 frames per second on Xbox One, or you can play Fortnite for free, which runs at 60 frames
per second, and it's like there's so much crap in it now. Like the guns and everything have been balanced. It's way more filled out. Like before, the map was kind of scarce of buildings and stuff, and now it's just completely kind of like there's stuff everywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they've added building, and that might be why the tide is kind of turning. But to be honest, like I said, Fortnite was built to be this kind of like, let's all do a mission kind of thing, not Battle Royale. That was kind of just an afterthought. That's why it's free. You know, but now Cliffy B's coming in here thinking, you know what? There's money here. Let me get my hand in there. And this trailer looks god awful. I gotta be completely honest. When I first saw it, I was like, "This is his pitch? Is this really his pitch?" Because it looked like, take the crappiest parts of, like, remember that game called Maximum? Oh no, not Maximum Overdrive. What was it called? Something Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive. Remember that game? Okay, so the crappy parts of that were like, hey, look, we're super young and we got crazy costumes and it's 80s and blah, blah, blah. So he slapped that on the Unreal Engine where like the people look kind of sort of real and it just doesn't mesh very well.
I don't know. I just think it looks like shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't have a consistent look to it. And then like the opening is like this, and trailer's like, here we go. Yeah. And then the whole place is empty. And then the first thing you see is two guys riding on a bike. And it's like playing to this like 80s hair metal music. And it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's early access. And it looks very
early access.
Very super early access.
I mean, to be honest, it's like, why would you even put this out?
Why not?
Well,
it's gonna make money.
I mean, if it's just 6 months in, this is your trailer. It's like it kind of hurts you more than it helps you. You know, if this trailer looks this crappy and that's the best you can do, I don't know if you want to put this out.
Why?
Because it's like you can work on finessing it, like at least finesse a little bit of it a little more to kind of show what it could be. But this right now seems like a mod of PUBG or a mod of Fortnite, and a bad one at that.
Sure.
So I'm like,
it's free.
Great.
I don't think you underestimate. I think you're underestimating the power of free. Okay.
I understand the power of free. It's hard to complain when it's free.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, here's a burger. And it's free.
Yeah.
And you're like, ew, this burger is gross. I don't want to eat it. And it's like, well, you got it for free.
Exactly. Yeah.
But just because it's free doesn't mean I can't criticize it.
No, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're asking why you would put it out. I mean, it's like it's gonna make money. Somehow it's gonna make money. I don't know if it has. I don't know if it has like microtransactions right now. But they're gonna be in it.
Well, here's the thing. Look, right. PUBG when it came out, it looked pretty basic, but it had an overall style to it. And sometimes it didn't run real great, but at least it all looked like, oh, okay, this is what they're going for. It does run a little laggy, but everything looks like it belongs in the world. Same thing for Fortnite. It ran pretty crappy at first, but everything looked consistent. Everything looked like, oh, this can be added on to. This thing looks like they're done already. Okay. And it's just like, ugh, the whole thing looks just. You just think it looks ugly? It looks ugly, and it looks like they don't know what they're doing. Okay. Because from the trailer, it's like you have to get cash, and then you got to go to an ATM. He's like, why would you do any of that? Because like in PUBG and in Fortnite, if you're ever standing around too long, all of a sudden you get a bullet in the back of the head. Yeah. It's like, why would you stand at an ATM doing some little thing and then get shot in the back?
I don't know. It's weird because like, it's getting to the point where like I know we're insulting this guy pretty hard right now, but it's just like he made Gears of War, right? Right. And I can't help but think that like these things that he's doing afterwards, they're making him look like George Lucas, you know? Like, maybe he got lucky the first time, or maybe the studio had, like, a lot to do with the first game.
I think he got way too much credit for doing the first. Like, the Gears of War thing, I think he had the initial idea, and then all these different people were like, let's help him make this great game. Yeah. And then he kind of took the credit for all of it. I mean, that's what I think. Yeah. Because what he's produced afterwards has been nothing to write home about.
Remember those interviews where the guys are saying, like, his workers were just like, they're like, oh, where's Cliff? He's like, oh, probably out driving his Lamborghini. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, my God. Like, didn't he buy, like, a restaurant at one point and try to make that work? And they're like, yeah, this thing.
Yeah. He tried to go into the restaurant business. So I don't know, like, I don't know if this is just, like...
He's got a lot of money.
I don't know how to see him right now. I don't know him personally, but from afar it looks like he's probably run out of money or something, and he needs to make a game to make more money. You know, or he's got like such exquisite taste now. He needs to fuel that, so he needs money. You know what I'm
saying? Not like he's still not making money. Every time, like, for example, it was only a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that the Gears of War 4 Collector's Edition came out. Oh, okay. We got all of them.
Oh, like the Legacy.
And then they made one that was like, there was another version of it called Judgment. And then there was one more that came out on the Xbox One that I played. Okay. It wasn't that great, but whatever. I'm sure it did pretty good. I mean, I'm sure he still has money, but I think he wants to make another game because he thinks he can do it again. He thinks he can capture lightning in a bottle again, which was Gears of War.
It's just... You know what had a lot to do with Gears of War, I think, was that, like, Halo was at a point where it was dying. Mm-hmm. And Gears of War kind of came in and, like, took the torch. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, don't you kind of feel that way? That, like, that...
Yeah, I think what it was is everybody was tired of first-person shooters.
Yeah, they went third-person and people were like, whoa, what's this?
It was that different cover system that everybody really liked because it felt more like, okay, there's a little more... There's a bit more of a active feel to you getting behind cover and, like being able to shoot above your head and throw the grenade. It felt a little grittier. And I think that's what Halo...
It just looks cooler, I guess, but, like, honestly, it's like, if you get behind cover in Halo, you have to move your fucking dude behind cover. Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, oh, just snap to this ledge.
That is what Gears of War is. It's like snapping to ledges
Hey,
and stuff.
slide over here, and then you just snap to the next one. You know, it's like... I don't know, what kind of fucking game is that? Like,
I'm as much as I don't like this game that he's put out now or Lawbreakers, I thoroughly enjoyed the Gears of War series.
Oh my god, Lawbreakers! I love how. Remember we were watching that like compilation of people shitting on Lawbreakers.
Well, because he handled it like horribly. First of all, the game was like not great.
Everyone was saying it was just like a bad version of Overwatch.
Yeah.
Because he tried to make it look like Overwatch, or like I don't know if he was like.
He was following the same model. Is like every character has a very unique personality, and everybody had their own strengths and weaknesses and blah blah blah. But it was almost like he tried to take the parts of Modern Warfare. You know how our nephew plays that, and now you got like rockets and you got all sorts of crap. It looks like more like a space game than a military game.
Yeah.
He tried to take that and then combine it with Overwatch to kind of be somewhere in the middle. Where it's like, it's still as gritty as Modern Warfare, but still has like a cartoony aspect to it. And it just doesn't mesh well. You
know who Sid Caesar is? He's a comedian that died a couple years ago.
Okay.
He had his famous words of advice. You have to know what to steal.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think that's really true. Because, you know, and as somebody who doesn't know talent, will just find anything, steal it, and think they can make money off of it.
Right.
But this guy, Sid Caesar, he's like, he knew what parts that he could borrow from other people that were good. He was like, that was the key to it. He could recognize that, you know? That's a skill in itself, in a lot of ways, you know?
Okay.
I don't think Cliffy B... I don't think he knows how to recognize what makes something popular. Okay, like Overwatch, for instance.
Right.
There's definitely people don't like it. Whatever. I don't give a shit. You can't deny that the characters in that game, like, you recognize them instantly. Okay?
Oh, yeah. They have very strong silhouettes.
Look at anybody who does, like, May cosplay, casual May cosplay, or casual Diva, or casual Pharah. All they need is the face to tell you that that's the character, you know?
Yeah, I think the easiest May cosplay I've ever seen is a blue tank top.
Yeah. The
kind
glasses,
of a puffy jacket and some glasses with their hair tied up.
with the little pin in the...
Yeah. And it's like, boom, May.
That's like...
Give me the upvotes.
Yeah. and like, that just tells you right there, like, oh my god.
And Diva, all you do is put the little, like...
Yeah, Diva is like, oh, you got the little triangles on your face and some headphones, you're Diva.
Diva.
Casual Diva. Like, Tracer, you got some goggles, you make your hair look spiky, and you're
done.
It's those, like, distinctive traits that tell you what a character is, and, like, that's what Overwatch spent years doing.
Right.
Over time. Like, I watch a lot of, like, developer stuff about Overwatch and stuff, and they were saying, like, I should say... They talk about, like, character design, like, professionals, because they're fucking professional artists.
Right,
There's a lot of professional artists there. Like, silhouettes is another thing. It's like when Widowmaker turns on her little, like, X-ray vision, you know, her infrasight, whatever, you know what character is there.
Sure.
Because every character has a
very strong silhouette.
Yeah. Like, you know Roadhog, you know May, you know Tracer, you know everyone. Like... That's what that game has. Lawbreakers was like this muddy mess of like gray shit. And
yeah,
like,
that was kind of what, like, to go off what you said, where that guy was saying know what to steal. He was trying to steal things from Modern Warfare. He was trying to steal things from Overwatch, but they don't mix well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're trying to cook something really nice.
Pizza and ice cream.
Yeah, it's like they taste great individually, but together they taste disgusting. It's like, you know, when somebody came up with pineapple pizza, they were like, you're crazy, it's a fruit, blah, blah, blah. But some people really dig that flavor, and it's like,
I do.
It's super popular. People really love it. And I think that's the part where he's just like, maybe you're just not good at this. And you should just kind of either lend his name to somebody else's idea, be part of a team, maybe a community manager, something like that. Because
he might think he's just too big for that, you know?
That might be the case. But we also read something else about Cliffy B. And apparently the people of Fortnite have been, quote-unquote, stealing his talent.
Yeah.
Which is like... they haven't necessarily said that they are or they aren't. They didn't comment. But like he tweeted out, he's like, "Hey, stop stealing my. There's no way I can make this game if you guys keep stealing my talent." He's like, "There's room for more of a." There's room for more Battle Royale clones.
Yeah.
If you guys would just let them.
By the way, always a good sign, angry tweets. Every person on the rise starts with angry tweets.
Angry tweets and blaming people for his failures. I mean, definitely. He's like,
just the mark of a success.
Like, anytime you see any YouTube person go, they're obsessed with me, they're jealous of me, and just like, you know that they're on the rise kind of thing. And nobody's commenting, but like one of the developers did actually talk about it. He says, "Hey, we're not a commodity. If the opportunity is there to work on the game, we're gonna go. Yeah. You know, it's a I guess it's a better game. I don't know, but
it's a more solid opportunity, definitely.
I mean, yeah, and there's so much more. Already, Fortnite is established as this place that you could be really creative because they keep changing costumes, they keep adding things to it. So there's definitely a lot to do there. Yeah. If I had a chance to work at Fortnite as a character designer, costume designer for all these different things, I would definitely take it.
I mean, yeah, it's the industry you like.
Exactly.
And they're they're like a healthy ass company that could probably afford to pay you pretty well.
Yeah, and since it's doing so well, you have that on your resume and you go like, "Hey, yeah, I was working on Fortnite for a couple months," and they're like, "Oh, great, that's a really successful game."
You know what's weird too? It's like the vibe of Radical Heights is so
it's off.
It's not even okay, yeah, it's off. Definitely. But I feel like that whole 80s like bright neon thing was like 6 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. Maximum No, I'm sorry. It's Sunset Overdrive was like it did it. To be honest, like I really dug the look of Sunset Overdrive. I really dug it. That's why I actually paid for it. But like it seemed like that's when it was done already.
Yeah.
Like that was the what is it? The top of it, the peak.
The peak.
That was the peak of it, and then it all started coming down because they're like, okay, you can't just slap a bunch of color on something and call it a day. You know what I mean?
feel like Hotline Miami like kind of started it.
Yeah.
You know, and then people saw like 80s. They're like, oh, we can do something with this, you know, and then they even had the Trials Blood Dragon.
Remember that was Far Cry. That was a Far Cry game.
What was?
Wasn't there a Far Cry game that was all 80s as well, like a version of it?
Oh, really?
Wasn't that Blood Dragon?
What is that Trials game we were playing the other day?
Oh, that was a Trials, the motorcycle game. They had like a 80s version of it too.
Yeah, wasn't it called Blood Dragon? Maybe something else. I don't know.
Maybe something else, but it was just like they tried to build this story around these two kids who are like totally 80s out.
Yeah,
but it was dumb. But I think that 80s thing is, I think it still could be done.
Yeah.
But the way he's presenting it here is not. In the trailer, it just looks so bad. Yeah. It's like there's this energy with the announcer and the graphics, but the actual gameplay is very stiff and not at all to the theme.
You know what's strange too is like, okay, like maybe this is just me. Anytime a game has like that kind of announcer, that announcer thing going on, never works. Like me and you, we like Mad World. Remember Mad World on Wii?
Oh my gosh,
that was a great game.
I love that game.
Nobody played it though.
I know it. I don't single-handedly killed the Wii's vibe and stuff.
Yeah, like these, like a lot of these games that like I don't know if that was. I don't think that was Platinum actually, right?
Yeah.
But like No More Heroes and stuff like that.
That was.
They had that kind of announcer vibe where there was somebody like.
Yeah.
And they didn't sell too well, and that's what I'm saying is like this game. Or maybe No More Heroes did sell well. I don't know.
No More Heroes did sell well.
Mad
World did not sell well, and Red Steel. These I'm listing up.
Wait.
Red Steel.
Okay, you're going off
Mad
track
World.
Here.
Hold on. There's one more. House of the Dead Overdrive. You remember that one? That was a great fucking game.
Why are you talking about that?
Because it had the same announcers like deep in and it's like all.
Did Red Steel have an announcer?
No, it did not.
No, but yeah, like that's what I'm saying is like when they give you this whole like this vibe of like, oh, you guys are on a cage, you got to fight to the death. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the announcer thing just doesn't work in my opinion.
I think it works if you match the excitement because that was the one thing about Mad World that I thought was really cool when you had that level of an announcer and then you were like throwing some guy in a garbage compressor and then like words would come out and there was all this action and blood and stuff. It definitely matched the energy level. This did not match the energy level.
Yeah, I mean it was also really stylized and it was done really well. Cell shaded. Dude,
And in black and white, and I think that's really...
I think that's why people didn't like it, honestly. Because it was black
dumb.
and white.
That's really dumb, because that game is so much fun to play. And it was like... I mean, there's something about Sega. They know how to do arcade-style games. That's really their, like, really, like, when they focus and they do a really good arcade game, I'm like, this is what Sega should be. Honestly, yeah, because Bayonetta is like another one where like it's arcade.
I beat it and I'm like, I could beat it again because it just seems like not easy, but it just seems like easy for me to play through again. You know what I'm saying? Like
and the whole like racking up points, doing that kind of thing, that calls out to me a lot in these type of games, and they just do it very well.
Yeah,
you know, and they break the game up into bites, and that's what I really like because I like to be able to come back to a game, play for a little bit, and then punch out when I need to.
Maybe Cliffy B should steal that, you know?
Oh, no.
We should take a hint. No,
but, I mean, I don't know about Radical Heights. Maybe it will be successful, and we're just, I don't know, we're just pissed at him. I don't know why we would be, but he's not off to a great start.
I think it will be. I think it'll be a success. You know what's funny too? I don't want to keep going on about this, but I was just gonna say, Titanfall, right? Titanfall 1?
Yeah.
Was a success, right? Huge success.
Yeah.
How come Titanfall 2 came out and like nobody cared? At least that's how I feel.
You know what? It's funny that you say that because I played Titanfall 1 for a good amount of time.
I know a lot. Because
I had a lot of people play it with me.
And
there was all these cool mods for it. I remember this guy had an eject button mod that he made where he mapped it so that every time he was gonna like drop a Titan or not eject but like a Titan thing. He would push that big button on the side. I was like, oh, like all these different cool things. But then Titanfall 2 came out. It came out to really good reviews, but I didn't bother to play it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think if Titanfall 2 had like been ahead of the curve and gone free to play, I actually think that game would have done really well. I think it's honestly just getting to the point where people don't want to pay for shit anymore. You know, like,
I mean, I guess that's fine, but I mean, think about it this way, like, I have Game Pass, right? And by the way, if you don't have Game Pass, you're missing out, because I'm playing so many more games with Game Pass.
Oh, yeah, if you have an Xbox, might as well.
Sea of Thieves came out, and I haven't played it. I haven't even played it, and like, technically it's free to, if you have Game Pass, it's free to play. And I haven't jumped on or anything, and I can't say anything about it. It just hasn't called to me.
I actually think that's why people are playing it. I mean, not just because it's like the only game to play exclusively on Xbox or whatever, but because a lot of people are playing it for $10 a month and not like the suggested $60 or whatever. And it kind of does look like a free to play game, if I'm being completely honest.
But to be honest, like Fortnite, I don't know. I don't think Fortnite's going away anytime soon. I think
it's not.
I think PUBG and Fortnite are going to stay up there for a while because PUBG just seems like a hardcore version of Battle Royale, and Fortnite is a casual version of it. I think that's what separates the two. So,
I don't know anything about those Battle Royale type games. But sure, if you're saying PUBG is like more hardcore or that takes more skill,
I just say hardcore because it's like the amount of time that you have to be in it versus Fortnite. It's way longer. Just way longer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so Fortnite's like faster.
Yeah, because the PUBG map is huge.
Okay.
But I love playing PUBG because it glitches out so much. Because like, it's funny to say that because it's just weird. But like when you're landing, a lot of the times, it's like the world hasn't fully rendered yet. So you might get stuck in the geometry. I was playing with my nephew James, and he's like, okay, we're in the house. It's like it hasn't loaded yet, and then all of a sudden, oh no, I'm stuck in the stairs.
If I'm being completely honest, I want to say that was like some of the appeal of it at first. It almost was like the underdog game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like people would see it and say like, oh, okay, like give it a break. You know, like it doesn't look that great.
It actually deserves. Sure. Because it came from humble roots.
Yeah.
And it's being made into this thing, so I give it a lot of. I give it a lot of passes.
No, yeah, and it just kind of sucks that like they're having so many issues with like the port and everything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to bring. I don't know what it is about going from PC to these different console platforms, but there's always issues, and I don't understand why. Probably because they have to dumb down and limit graphics.
Well, I mean, I could understand like PS3 or PS4 because apparently like PS3 dev kit was really hard to work with. Because the PlayStation 3 was like a system that people couldn't really figure out or something like that.
Okay.
Like they were having trouble unlocking its full potentials or something. That's why like that's why like Sony made the best looking games for it. But other companies had like Bayonetta was a shitty port on PS3 because they couldn't figure out how to work it or something.
What about PS4? Didn't they fix that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know anything about PS4. But it's just in my head I'm just like Xbox is Windows. The games, like a lot of games run on Windows. That's not the same archetype or anything like that.
No,
like,
yeah, but there's weird things like the first time they started doing cross-platform stuff. Like I can play Gears of War on my PC now. It's just like sometimes you have to go in and lock things.
Okay.
In the back end of it because they limit stuff, so that you don't see too much of a difference between the two games. I think that's stupid. I don't know. I can't really speak to that, but it's always been a bad idea to.
What? A bad idea to port a game from PC or what?
It's just, I don't know. It's because I think it's because because PUBG, as I understand it, is a mod of a game.
It was a mod. It started as an Arma 2 mod,
and then it got moved over to the Unreal Engine, or something like that, and now it's being moved over again.
It was just a mod, like gameplay mode that he made, and a company like eventually said like, "Hey, I want to make this into a real game."
It's just like, now that you've had so many translations of it, that's probably what's getting in the way.
Well, I mean, sure, that happens, but I think your point might be that when a PC game, like a hardcore PC game, goes onto console, it's going to get shit on.
Yeah, I think
by people in general, you know? Like, that's like putting Civ 5 on, like, PlayStation 4. People are going to be like, how the fuck are you playing that on a controller? Like,
well, keyboard and mouse support, right?
On PS4?
Yeah.
No way, dude. No.
Oh, I thought there was.
PS3 apparently had that. I do remember that. But, I mean, this is a whole other conversation. Devs don't want their games being played on keyboard and mouse on console.
Which I think is stupid, but...
So do I. Like
if you have the material for it.
Jeff Kaplan from Overwatch was saying, like, we don't want players on console to feel like they're at a disadvantage. And my argument was...
okay, I understand now.
My argument was, you can go buy a fucking mouse and keyboard too, so what the hell? Like, everybody can go out and buy it, so what's the... Like,
yeah.
I don't get that. Like, that's like saying, like, oh, nobody can use headsets because if one person goes out and buys it, oh, he has the advantage, you know? Like, it just...
I get you, yeah. It's like, you know what? It's like when those stupid companies buy this little... I'm not calling them stupid, but, like, you remember those things for a while? It was like... Attach this bigger joystick to your little joystick, and you'll be way better at games. Remember those things?
Oh, I don't.
You clipped these bigger... You literally clipped these bigger joysticks to your little thumbstick, so that you could, like, be a little more...
Okay.
Like, I don't know what they were... Like, were they really supposed to help you out, but it's like trying to make an advantage out of your controller.
I remember when the PS3 first came out, everyone complained about the triggers.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah, I complained about the triggers.
I mean, the PS4 ones, too, they're really sensitive still, and sometimes I'll, like, place my controller on the floor or something, and I'll shoot or something on accident, or yeah. Anyway, they had something similar for the triggers. It was like a little piece of plastic you could put on it to make them, like, more stiff or something.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
I think it's along the same lines, but I will say that a mouse and keyboard player, I think overall, a mouse and keyboard player will beat a controller player.
Oh yeah.
It's not like when you play Street Fighter.
I'm not even trying.
It's not like when you play a fighting game and you have a stick versus a pad.
No, I've heard people make that comparison too, and I'm like, that's not
the same thing.
It's not, because like
you have the same amount of reaction time. Because, like, for example, if you want to whip your head back and forth in Overwatch, mouse and keyboard just, like, it's not even a second, and you can look both ways.
You can do a 360
in console.
In a split second.
You can't. It's going to take you a whole, like, it's going to take you, like, a whole second just to make the turn,
you
know?
You're going to say a minute.
It almost feels like going back and playing FPSs on...
Controller?
Like a controller like that, it's weird to go back to that.
Yeah, even on the highest sensitivity, I think a controller goes around like in a full 360. Pretty fucking slow. Like it's really frustrating, because especially like in a game like in Overwatch, when you have to learn like certain matchups and stuff, there's things I want to do, and like when I'm playing on console with like some of my friends that only play on console, it's frustrating for me to be like, I could beat this fucking person. I know what they're gonna do, but I just can't do it on this fucking goddamn pad thing. You know?
I understand. It's frustrating, but
yeah. So I don't know. Like, I know we've gone off on quite a few tangents here, but that was all we wanted to say about the battle royale.
So, some more news from Ernieville over here.
What happened?
I went to go see a movie with the wife this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I went to go see Rampage.
Oh yeah.
That also came out this week.
How'd you like it?
You know, I surprisingly kind of loved it.
Okay.
It's really hard to admit that and I told my wife this as soon as we walked out. I was like, God damn it. An action movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like, spells disaster only because, like, I've seen San Andreas. I've seen, like, minutes of San Andreas. I'm like, this is terrible. This is just a stupid action flick, blah, blah, blah. But Rampage did such a great job in, like, it's way more it's formulaic, but in a good way. Okay. You know how we were talking a couple of weeks ago where, like, there's these templates set up so that if you hit these marks, you'll make a good movie. Yeah, it's not going to be an Oscar-worthy movie, but it's going to be a good movie.
You make a good popcorn flick.
Right. Oh. Popcorn. But it's like, you spend enough time with the characters in the very beginning, you develop this anticipation, and then the end action sequence should only be, like, this long.
Okay.
Right? And it does exactly that. Like, you spend a lot of time with, like, if people don't know, this movie is based on the video game, but very loosely.
Okay.
So it's like the three monsters are George, who's a gorilla.
Yeah.
Lizzie, who's a lizard or a reptile or something in the original game, and then Ralph is the wolf.
Yeah.
Right? So that's essentially it. Like, these growth hormone space things developed by this company turn these three animals into these things, right?
They're animals?
They're animals.
They're scientists in the game. Right?
Yeah. In the game, they're scientists. That's why they're named Ralph, Lizzie, and George. But in this one, The Rock saved George when he was a little baby because he was part of a anti-poaching task force. So The Rock has, like, come to know George for a long time, and so they have their own language. They have, like, he basically saved him while his mother was being, like, butchered. It's a really hard scene to watch.
Okay, cool.
So it's like they really took the time to, like, to develop this relationship between The Rock and George. And they're just, like, best buddies. It's almost like a buddy film. Okay. You know?
So there's real emotion behind it.
There's a lot of and, you know, it's The Rock, and, you know, it's like he's very charming, he's very charismatic, so he's like, and they cut out the whole, like, romantic like the whole romantic thing, like, oh, he's going to get the girl at the end. They kind of cut that out. Okay. There's still a side to it, but they cut it out.
The bros before hoes is what you're saying.
there's this stupid things, like, there is some cringeworthy lines where they go, "Hey man, why do you always prefer animals to people? With animals, you always know where you stand." And I was like, "Oh God, okay, say a lot of your dogs for me." Yeah. It was like, you know, that kind of thing. There's some groaners in there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's like something. Someone will just quote it later, and you're just like, "You're a fucking loser. Are you serious? Like, you quoting Rampage at me?"
Yeah, but it's like, it's good because they have little Easter eggs in it, like the big corporation guy. He has a cool office, right? Okay. And in the background, he's got the Rampage arcade game because he has a little arcade in his office. He's obviously named George because that's what The Rock named him. But when they're talking about the other ones, because they slowly discover the other monsters, they're not like, "Oh no, look at all the monsters."
I remember the trailer. He's just like, "There's more of these things," and then like,
and that happens way late in the movie. So, like, this development happens very slowly. It's a slow burn to the very end. That's why I was like, wow, this is like, there's a constant amount of action, but it's not like monsters destroying the city for 2 hours. It's very nicely paced. So they do sly things, like they're like, "Yeah, man, your giant gorilla is old news, buddy," and he shows him like a tablet. And he's like, "Weirdos on the," and he's like, "There's a big wolf and blah blah blah," and he's like, "Weirdos on the internet calling him Ralph," and then that's their whole, like, that's how his name is, Ralph. That's how they throw that in. Just to throw it in, to, like, nod to the game.
Oh, I thought you were going to have, like, a cool explanation.
No, it's just, like, a little, like, "Hey, weirdos on the internet are calling him Ralph." He's like, Okay? Like, the only reason they're named that is because there's a scientist.
Yeah, hardcore fans are calling him Ralph on the internet. What about Lizzie? Is there an explanation?
You know what? I didn't hear one.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder why they didn't. But, dude, Lizzie is badass in that thing. Yeah. And they even like, in the movie, Lizzie is the biggest monster.
Okay.
And they actually do a good job of not explaining it, but visually explaining why. So the canisters themselves that turn the animals or whatever, it has like this spore, like this gas that like if you breathe it in, it'll affect you.
So she took the biggest hit, is what you're saying.
Well, you know, the 3 canisters of this thing hit the ground. George breathes it in and then immediately walks away.
Okay.
Right?
The
wolf...
I am that shit.
No,
okay.
yeah. Like, he walks away. The wolf breathes it in and then immediately, like, just starts feeding on his pack. So he starts eating whatever's around. He's like a killing machine. Lizzie ingests the entire canister.
Oh, okay.
So she takes the biggest hit of that thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And she's fucking badass, man.
She takes
like,
a mad rip of that.
Right after she eats it, you see this big cloud come out of the swamp.
And that shit goes straight to her head, dog.
Straight to the head.
Yeah. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. I think it's kind of funny. I don't know if this is just me noticing, like, a kind of a trend here, but, like... Okay, so Godzilla, when did that come out? 2009? The one with Bryan Cranston?
Oh, shit.
It wasn't 2009. It was, like, 2016.
Wait.
It was, like, 2016, right?
The Bryan Cranston version was the...
It was just Godzilla. It was just...
Right, okay. Hold on. Yes. Yeah, it was like around 2006. Yeah.
Okay, and then Pacific Rim came out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Pacific Rim 2 came out earlier this year, right? Or like...
It's coming out.
No, it already came out.
Uprising?
Yeah. And then this movie came out. I kind of feel like big monsters and like big robots are kind of a thing now.
Yeah.
You think it's kind of following like a trend, don't you? Like,
you know what? Like, I would say yes, except for the fact that Pacific Rim, this is the second one. Godzilla came out. Like, I feel like there was a trend of it back in the day. Because remember, there was a cartoon that made fun of it.
Okay.
It was like Monsters and Aliens from DreamWorks.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's been around a while. I don't think it's like...
No, I know, but I'm saying there's kind of like a resurgence of it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if that's true, but it just seemed like, okay, they're doing Pacific Rim, big, you know, like, I mean, Transformers to an extent.
To an extent, I will give you, yeah, because they're
like,
big robots, yeah.
And now it's like now that they're doing Rampage, I feel like there might be interest in like a...
big monster movies.
Yeah, like maybe not Godzilla, because I heard it actually didn't do very well.
But I heard it did well, but it wasn't like... I think it just did okay because of Bryan Cranston. Everybody was still pretty hot on Bryan Cranston because of Breaking Bad. So
maybe I'm just getting at like supernatural disasters, because didn't Cloverfield, wasn't that also like a...
That's a big monster, yeah. You're right. See, I
don't know. Maybe I'm just being crazy, but... I wouldn't be I wouldn't.
If they do monster movies the same way they're doing it, like this, where they're actually following this formula of like, make sure you get to know your monster before you throw them into the melee.
I wouldn't really hate it, because I'm not like a huge fan of them, but I know people have been kind of dying for these films, like especially like AVGN. That guy always talks about how there's like no more monster films or like big kaiju films or whatever.
I mean, no offense to AVGN, really, because I love that guy.
He loves shit, is what you're gonna say.
No, he just likes a certain type of film.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because he has a lot of knowledge of certain things, he tends to give a pass to some inconsistencies. Like, you know Godzilla already. Yeah. So there's no need to story build with Godzilla.
Yeah.
So as soon as he shows up, he's kind of like, okay, I know this. You don't need to go through the whole rigmarole of, hey, who is he? What does he do? Yeah. You know, you don't need to do that. You just throw him into the melee and let's go. Like, that's what he wants to see. And that's great, because he kind of knows, like I said, he has a lot of back-end knowledge about how movies are made and what the history is of all this. So he brings that with him when he watches these movies. But, like, to me, it's like, great, but I want to actually feel something for this monster, for this fight. You know?
No, yeah, he definitely looks at him like from a creator's standpoint.
Yeah,
because that might be it. He looks at the way the monsters are made, and he's probably thinking like, I want to make something like that, or like, man, I can see how they're doing that right now, and it just, I'm completely immersed in the illusion of this somehow. You know, like I get that. I don't know. I was just saying, like,
but see,
as far as like diversity goes, because there's a lot of superhero movies right now, and I know people are tired of that shit, and like a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah, but if they do them right, if they make sure that the audience is being made to feel an emotion, it's still a good movie at the end of the day.
You know what's crazy too is like, I know people would say like, oh, if we're gonna make Godzilla, you gotta have it like practical, right?
That's the point I was gonna make.
Hold on. Let me say this. There's a lot of Marvel movies that use tons of practical effects.
Yeah.
And you can't even tell the difference. Like, just because certain parts of it are CG, it's almost like your mind thinks all of it is CG. Mm-hmm. Because, like, Iron Man's suit is pretty practical. A lot of it is there.
A lot of it is practical, yeah.
But there's just, like, the joints are green, right?
Yeah, so basically, like, the moving parts in it. And, like, to cover up some parts of it that are like opened up or something, they just fill them in with CG so the whole thing looks like it's actually working.
Yeah, and people will look at Marvel movies and be like, oh, this is fucking CG garbage, and it's like, well, it's not actually all CG.
But okay, so in that regard, one of my favorite movies of last year was like Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? There's a part where he's getting reprimanded by Tony.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're not even here, and then he pops out of the suit. That part was very CG to me. And that's probably one of the instances where it took me out of the movie because of that particular part. And it's like the CG on that wasn't necessarily done well enough to me to, what is it called, like a suspension of disbelief?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I understand when people are like, it's all CG kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there was a practical suit, and when Tony stepped out of it, they just had certain parts that were like filled in, but they just didn't do a great job.
Yeah, I don't know. I know which scene you're talking about. I like that scene because he comes out of the suit all fast.
Yeah.
He like surprises him.
I think that's what it was. I think the practical part of it was he's actually stepping out of it, but there was no thing in front of him. I think it was
maybe
like when it opened up.
We should look it up. Maybe there's like a little
watch. It's all CG, and we're just
but Robert Downey Jr. is actually. He's actually CG.
The whole thing's CG.
He couldn't film that day, so you know.
I will say, like, another point to Rampage's credit is a point we made in that Star Wars Rogue One review, and it was that even though we knew the robot thing was completely CG, I cried a little when like spoilers if you haven't seen Rogue One, when he when the robot dies, I felt really bad. I was like, and George gets beat up pretty bad, and you feel it.
Yeah, sure.
And he's completely CG from beginning to end. They make no part where it's like it's just a guy in a suit.
No, yeah, I get you. It's like Peter Jackson, King Kong.
Yeah,
like at the end of the movie, you're just like, man, fuck humanity. Like, what have you done to this monkey? I love him.
They did a really good job, I will say this, on the CG eyes of George. Okay. Because they spend a lot of time really close to his face, and you can see these little like parts where his like the lower eyelid will bounce, and give him that little like this is his sense of humor, or this is him joking around, or this is him when he's really hurt. It's it's just feel for that monkey, you know what I mean? Or that ape, sorry.
There's like a you corrected yourself as if like you were offending him or something.
Well, he's an ape. He's not a monkey.
The eyes are really important, and I always hear like the neck vein, or not the vein, but like the, I don't know what the fuck this is called. If you can't you can't see me right now.
I don't think anybody can see you, Steve.
But I'm pointing to like that V kind of shape that comes off of your neck.
Yeah.
Those are muscles that apparently like humans identify, and if they see that, they're like, oh, this is human kind of thing. That's like why Zenyatta has that in Overwatch.
Yeah.
He has those two like cords that look like that.
Well, those are the muscles that help you turn your head.
Yeah, apparently like there's some weird thing that like, oh, you're like, you as humans you identify, like you see faces and everything, all that bullshit. You identify that as human or something weird like that. Anyway, we're getting off. I watched a movie too.
Oh yeah?
I watched a lot of movies, but I don't know if they were like worth going on about. I watched Goodfellas for the first time. It's on Netflix right now.
Is that because you've been playing a lot of Mafia?
Yeah. I think so. I really enjoy that movie. I think it's a fucking great movie. Not just because of like, you know, the blood or the, you know, violence, whatever. Mm-hmm. I actually just like the story. It was a really engaging story, and it's based on a true story. Mm-hmm. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but if you haven't seen it, it's based on a true story. And I had never seen a movie where like it's Ray Liotta like in the main role.
This is basically what made him famous.
Yeah, and he's fucking great, dude. I love that guy.
He's really good in it.
I've only really seen him in like stuff where he's old, so it was cool to see him.
Well, because he's old now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what's funny too is like I would always hear people say like, "Oh, that's Ray Liotta," and I always thought in my head like,
"Who cares?
Who's that?" Like, yeah, like where'd he come from?
Yeah,
kind of thing. And so I went through like a line of gangster movies. I also saw The Godfather 1. Mm-hmm. Which, in my opinion, was kind of boring. But from what I hear, the second one is what makes that first one so great somehow. So I'll watch the second one and get back to you. And then I also watched Scarface.
Yeah.
Scarface is... I don't know. I think it was good, but I think it's pretty overrated. I don't know if that's blasphemous to say, but I wasn't like really blown away by it. And I think if you watch Scarface and you think that you want to be Scarface, I think you missed the point of the movie. Because I see a lot of...
You were saying something else when we were talking about, like, when we were talking about what you had just watched is like, it's a gangster, like, dude... what were you saying? It's like, yeah, all these gangster movies end the same way.
Yeah, they kind of do, and they don't really, like, they're not meant to glorify crime.
No, they definitely are not.
So just by saying that, I think I've given away a lot of the endings to these movies, you know?
Well, you know, crime, what is it, the old saying, crime doesn't pay? It's just like, everything catches up to you eventually, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like, as far as like a movie goes,
yeah,
how would you end it otherwise, you know?
No, I understand because, like, it's like everybody loves the sense of karma in movies, like almost like a poetic justice. Uh-huh. And that if you're watching somebody do these dastardly things, deplorable things, uh-huh, getting what they want out of it, I mean, how else? You're right. Like, how else are you supposed to end a movie? Like, where you'll feel like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, And Scarface goes on to have sex with beautiful women, and he buys whatever he wants. Like, that's not that's not what people want to hear.
No, and I think I don't know if you even need to say how the movie ends, because I'm pretty sure if anybody's even heard of Scarface, they've looked up the last scene in Scarface to see how it actually ends.
It's a pretty infamous like last scene, and I think that last scene is really awesome. And
sure.
It is. No, don't get me wrong, dude. Scarface is a good fucking film. It's just that, like,
I agree.
It's one of those things that like will just get ruined because people are constantly like quoting it at you, or like.
I think it has the same effect that Fight Club had for me when I was growing up, because it's like, I didn't grow up with Scarface. Uh-huh. Scarface was like a generation behind me. Uh-huh. Like, everybody in high school had watched that when they went to high school, and when I got into high school, Fight Club was like the movie you had to watch, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And so many people were quoting it at me. So many people were telling me the ending before. Like, they were telling me the big spoiler in Fight Club before I saw Fight Club.
Oh, okay.
And it was just like, when I actually finally got to watch, and I was like, you all killed it for me.
Yeah, I do hate that a lot.
And any... What would you say? What would be the age range of a person who has a Scarface poster in their office, like, or something?
30? I don't know.
My age, really? Yeah. I would say like 40 to 50.
Maybe,
at this point.
Well,
because it was like an 80s. It was an 80s movie.
I was telling you, like, it just kind of sucks because like you were saying about Fight Club. Mm-hmm. Just be glad that Fight Club doesn't get parodied every 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Because like watching Godfather 1, for instance.
Yeah.
The most infamous scene is like the horse head scene. Mm-hmm. I was like, that was like the most action this movie fucking had. Like,
what about?
And it was spoiled.
Isn't that the movie where they also?
Are you gonna start saying shit? And I haven't seen the second one.
No. That whole stereotype of like classical Italian music being played while people are getting shot or something.
Yeah,
like
sure.
That's like part of that.
Yeah.
But when I saw it for the first time in that movie, it's supposed to be so much more powerful. But I had seen it so many other times in exactly. like in any other parody.
No, and like
you know what I mean?
Scarface too is like the things he was saying where he's like, oh, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the... And I was just like, I've heard of that so many fucking times. Or like, one of the girls says like, oh, rule number 2, you don't get high on your own supply. And I'm like, oh, this is where all those fucking gangsters got it from? Like, I heard that.
You're never gonna see another bad guy like me.
Yeah,
and like okay,
I hear this.
That's where it's from.
I heard this all throughout high school, and I'm like, oh, fucking great. Now I get to see where it came from. It just, like when things get like played out like that, it just ruins
it's unfortunate because a lot of people will say, well, the movie was ruined for you, and it's like, well, yeah, and now we're watching it, and it's like it doesn't have the same impact as it would have.
Not at all. Yeah.
And then it's the same thing for, like I said, for me in Fight Club. It's like when I watched, I was like, oh, okay, right. But over going back and watching that movie, I've gained more appreciation for it in the translation from the book to the actual movie and what it was trying to do. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if I could watch Scarface that many more times.
No, yeah, there's a lot of depth to Fight Club. It's a more like methodical movie, I guess I would say.
I would say it's a more psychological movie.
Yeah, sure. Because like Scarface is a bit more surface level.
I would say so, yeah.
Like,
because it's like, unfortunately, it's like, you know, at the time, I think there was a lot of like movies that were like doing the American Dream. Yeah. It's like this guy came from nothing, and he worked hard, and one day he became this, you know, owned his own business, or like he became a titan of industry or something like that. And I think Scarface was the answer to that. He's like, well, there's another side to it where people come to this country, but they, you know, go the life of crime, you know. And I think that was the reaction to it. And so, at the time, it might have been more of a whoa, you know. It's like this is the
it was definitely. I'm sure it was definitely a shocker out when it came out, you know, like. And things now, like I was telling you the other day, it's like things nowadays have just gotten to the point where like everyone's just like desensitized to everything, and you can no longer be shocked by anything. So
I will say. This Al Pacino's career, what for better or for worse, has been surrounded by being a gangster. Yeah, and I don't think he's ever been able to get away from that persona. Like he's always been that stereotype. Unfortunately, I
think he's actually. I mean, suffice it to say, he's like fucking great in this role. Like,
he's fantastic. I think that's why he got typecast. Yeah. Is that he did this so well and he gave so much to it that he's like, you know, this is what you are, unfortunately.
And you know what? That's another reason why I want to see Godfather 2 as well, because I hear that like it's more of him. Right. Because in the first one, you know, it's kind of half him, but he's not really doing Godfather-y things yet. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sure. You know.
You know what would be interesting is if we both watched Heat.
Because that was also on there. Al Pacino's in it, right?
It's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
And it's a third guy that looks like what's his fucking name? God damn it!
I can't remember right now.
It's what's it, Batman? Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer's in it.
It's Val Kilmer, and he has like a ponytail. He looks like a freak.
Yeah. Well, you know, we should watch it and get back because like that's one of those movies where everybody my age is like a step above me have watched and we're like, dude, it's like the scene from Heat and blah blah blah, and like there's been like I remember seeing this I don't know why it came up in my YouTube feed, but it was like he's like, how it would go if you actually did the bank heist from Heat. Like that last scene is supposed to be like so infamous. Oh, okay. And I'm like, they're supposed to be carrying this amount of gold in their bags and they're trying to run down the street. Would it actually work? I was like, who gives a shit?
You'd get arrested.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think we should actually watch it because I have a feeling we're going to find a lot more of these like I don't know what you want to call them, catchphrases that we're like, oh, well, I've seen that parodied everywhere else.
Well, you know what? Okay, going back to Goodfellas, I would highly recommend Goodfellas if you've never seen it, mostly because it's like a 2-hour long movie and it doesn't even feel like it. Like the whole time I'm really engaged in the story, but it didn't. To me, there wasn't anything that stuck out that I was like, oh, I've seen that somewhere, or like, oh, this is where that came from.
Gotcha.
It was all pretty much like its own thing and. Everyone in it was great. I really like Robert De Niro in it, and I want to see more stuff with him in it too. And Joe Pesci. You know?
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci from Home Alone. You remember him?
From Lethal Weapon?
Yeah. Nah, not Lethal Weapon.
Have you even watched the first Lethal Weapon?
I haven't. No.
It's good. It's the first Lethal Weapon is like a solid buddy cop movie.
I want to know how Joe Pesci went from fucking Goodfellas and Casino.
He ran out of money, dog.
To fucking Home Alone. I want to know that. Okay.
Money.
Yeah. Okay, so you are obviously recommending Rampage, correct?
I'm recommending it because, like, for example, a lot of people, when I told them, dude, Jumanji was really good, people were like, whatever, it's The Rock.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? He just
You're
and
welcome.
It's Kevin.
Yeah,
it's Kevin Hart and The Rock and whatever. It's like, I understand why you would dismiss it, but if you can just put aside those prejudices, watch Jumanji, and seriously give Rampage a shot, because I think people will be pleasantly surprised when you go watch it.
Okay.
And there's a lot of Easter eggs in it that, if you know about the game, makes sense.
Okay, cool.
You know, and
sure.
but they have to do with some of the spoilers in it, so I can't actually tell you what they are.
Okay, so final verdict on Cliffy B.
He needs to go away for a bit, or he needs to be in a non-game directing role. Like he should use his, like, because he's still. I think people still consider him like a gaming personality. So you know what? Attach yourself to a game. Become like the game. What is it? The community person. Really amp up the game. I think some people are still like, care what he thinks, and do that.
What's that old saying? If you can't
beat him, join him.
If you can't do it, teach it, or something like that.
Oh,
right?
those who do.
Yeah.
And those who can't teach.
What?
Yeah. Those who.
Is that what you said?
I don't know, something like that.
Is that what it is? All right.
It's something along those lines.
Okay.
But it's basically, if you can't do it, you teach it. You know. That's why it's like a lot of coaches, or football coaches, like they were never football stars, but they know football. So it's like,
Oh yeah, they've watched plenty of it. They know how to,
but they can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I think we have a lot of movies that we've already recommended here.
Yeah.
We're gonna probably watch Heat.
Yeah, I'm watching some stuff right now, so I'll get back to you guys next week. But yeah,
don't play Radical Heights. Okay. Don't give that guy any money.
Stay tuned for next week's announcement. All right, guys, it's gonna be a good one. Okay.
Okay.
So stay tuned for reals. All right.
Tuned. Sorry, that was way too obvious. We're not gonna do that.
I don't get it.
Just kill the momentum right there.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week, guys.